Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Bill Humbert wants you to expect success, and he knows how to make success happen. Bill, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Bill. I'm excited to be here.
Now, Bill, you've written a book, Expect Success. That's a great title for our show, The Secrets of Success, and we should expect success. And basically, if I'm correct, that's about hunting for a job and looking for a position, especially for people who are over 50. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's great for people over 50, but really anybody can use this book. I just hit that niche real hard because I knew that there are a lot of people that age 50 and older who are just struggling to find a job.
And from what I see of people, and I would say you're absolutely correct, I have people talking to me about it, and you feel bad for the situation because they're in that awkward spot where they should be kind of going into the senior years of a job now, well respected and appreciated by their peers. And what happens? The company merges, downsizes, gone out of business, etc. You say in the book that candidates must understand what others think to be successful in landing a position. Whose mind do we have to get into? Is that the employer or other applicants?
We have to get in, first of all, into our mind.
Okay.
That's important. Expect success. If you're not expecting success, then you're leading yourself down the wrong path. Secondly, you need to be speaking really to the hiring manager, or many times there's a panel interview. So you need to be talking to all of the people in the panel and watching them and their reactions and working with them to help them understand you and you understand them.
Bill, I would think that when a person's company either closes or downsizes, etc., we're pretty deflated. It's like you ask someone out on a date and bingo, there it goes. Or you're expecting your team to win and they're the favorite and nothing happens and all the air is out of the balloon. Is the essence of what you're saying, and your book is a great blueprint for this, that we have to take control in order to determine our own growth and promotions within an industry?
Absolutely, Bill. It's too many people. I like to describe it as too many people take their career like jellyfish, and they just float with the currents of the company without taking control of their career. And as a result of that, they lose control of their career and possibly even lose their job.
That's a great point to bring out, because I think most of us do that. We feel, we're here 7 years, we're safe, and we'll ride this till retirement age or till somebody makes us that wonderful offer, which probably isn't going to come, but it makes us feel good. But in reality, from reading your book, and it's not hard because you outline everything, you make it about as simple as possible. It's really up to us to take control. And if we don't, we're probably going to be hit with one of these, in quote, surprises someday. You say that we must fight fear with our actions. Can you explain what that means?
Sometimes fear is like that big dark shadow in the room, and it's encroaching upon your space. And until you get up there with a bat, whack that puppy, you don't have control. So the best thing to do, the best way to face fear is to start acting in a positive fashion, expecting that success, and then moving forward. And with that, you'll clobber the fear.
If someone comes up to you and let's say they just found out that basically next week their job is going to be terminated. And they're in that midpoint of life, I'm going to say anywhere from maybe 32 to 52, et cetera. What mistakes do you see them making at that time? What's their reaction and what's wrong with it?
Well, one of their major mistakes, and it's really not their mistake and it's really not their fault because nobody's ever said it to them, the job search mirrors the sales process perfectly. And if you follow the sales process through your career search, then you're going to be much more successful and more successful quickly.
Now, can you explain that to us? When you say it follows mirrors the sales process, in what way?
So the sales process begins with identifying a need, right? Well, the need in this case is finding a new job. The next step is to create a solution that fills that need. In your job search, that solution is identifying really who you are and what it is that you want. And then it just continues to follow the needs analysis is the interview, the offer, you have the offer, so it just follows the sales process perfectly. And if you understand what the sales process looks like, and in my book, I do have that graphed out, you'll be successful in your search much more quickly.
Now, we've all heard about the Great Resignation. Of course, we've gone through a very unique period over the last few years that I don't think anybody prepared for, or if a fortune teller told you this or a psychic, you'd say you're crazy. But did the Great Resignation make things better or worse for someone, coming into the market? When I say coming into it, looking in the market and looking to change a position.
Well, it depends on them, number one. And then secondly, it depends on what it is that they want to do next. And third, if they fight their fear with action and they start to network their way to that next position into that company that they want to go, or grow within their own company and network inside their own company. So it's important for them to take control of their search. And, it doesn't really matter if there's a Great Resignation or if there's layoffs. Companies hire even during layoff periods.
Now, some great news and I definitely put this in my notes, and I want listeners to pay very close attention. And you say in your book, if you're 50 or older, 50 or older, you have a significant advantage over younger workers. Hooray! I think that's great news for all of us. That should be on the front pages of the papers tomorrow morning. But tell us why and how we can use that to empower ourselves.
Well, Bill, you and I are older than 50.
I'll admit to that, yes.
And, we have a ton of experience under our belts by now. And some of it was positive, some of it was negative, some of it was neutral. All of that experience has become us. We are now a reflection of all of our experience. And so we know when a company is going to go down the wrong path because we did it and failed. We know to counsel them, I don't think you want to do this. This is what I found to be better. So we have the experience to be better employees than the people who are younger. And it's nothing wrong with the younger people. They just don't have that experience.
I've always felt that, and I felt like I was the only one saying it, and people probably looked at me and said, oh, sure, because you're over 50, you're saying this. But I honestly felt that people over 50, first of all, they're coming into the job, they really probably don't care about their social media in a heavy manner the way a younger person would. They're not involved in getting to a soccer game for their children or back to the school to pick them up, et cetera, et cetera. So many of the things that a younger worker might be tied into or tied down to or distracted by, that older person coming into the job really just wants that job that's going to make them feel empowered, that they can use their skills, whether it's mathematical as an accountant or in law, or combining the two of them and making a new operation better. And I thought, my gosh, that person isn't looking to take the boss's job in most cases. They're looking for a position that they're going to enjoy coming every day, put meaning into their life, and use the knowledge that they have and get satisfaction from that. So I often wondered why that's a problem when you get older. I thought just the opposite. That person's coming, you got the wealth of knowledge, you have everything right there. And I would think for most companies it would be impressive. You quote a basketball coach, I think he was a great high school basketball coach, if I'm correct, Morgan Wooten, and you say, people live up or down to your expectations. How does that affect our job search, and what should we do to accommodate that?
Well, first of all, Morgan Wooten is a Hall of Fame basketball coach, and, Nassau County is up there near New York City, and when I was at DeMatha High School, we beat this team from New York City called Power Memorial.
I know where this is going.
With Lou Alcindor on it. It was the only game Lou Alcindor ever lost in high school.
He had a different name, though, when he got to the pros, right?
He changed it to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right.
And he was a gentleman in high school, and he's a gentleman today. So, such a great guy. DeMatha was the only one to beat him, but Morgan Wooten's philosophy of people raised to the expectation that you give them, and also the other way, was so important when he was talking to not just me, but our entire class. He was my freshman history teacher, my freshman homeroom teacher, and more importantly, he was a customer on my Washington Post paper route. And I used the money from the Washington Post paper route to pay my way through DeMatha.
I think that's great. And I want to talk to you more about that, but it was so interesting bringing up his name. I skipped over one of our breaks in the show, so I want our audience to know, if they're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Bill Humbert, Humbert. His book is Expect Success. And Bill, we're going to ask you for the website where we can learn more.
Recruiterguide.com.
Oh, perfect name and easy to remember, recruiterguide.com. We'll ask you that again later in the show, so if some people didn't get this down. And again, I'm going to mention to our audience, you may not need Bill's services today, but in a week or 2 weeks, your brother, your uncle, your father is going to say, oh, this happened at work, I wish I knew something, or how do I handle this, or I think a change is coming. This is going to be the perfect book for them. Expect Success, and recruiterguide.com is where you want to go to find out more. You tell us to take charge of our emotions, and that's, I think, very tough, because when we get let out of a job, it's like, wait, we worked for 44 years, and now that's gone. Am I still an accountant? Have I become a marketing or a sales professional? Am I going back to school? It must be a very swirly type of environment. How do we get hold of those emotions?
It's difficult. Why not just lay it out there and say that it is difficult? However, people do overcome those emotions. It generally takes some time. Sometimes, weeks, sometimes even longer. However, if you are working towards finding your next job, always remember that things work out for the best. They may not seem like that's the case right now, but things always work out for the best as long as you are working to make them work out for the best.
I like that, and I think if we listen to what you have to say, we're certainly eliminating perhaps a lot of the errors, a lot of the downtime, and just that feeling of being lost, because now we have a guide, as we would want on any vacation or trip into an unknown area, someone who can show us around. We're certainly going to do much better with that. Are people staying in the workforce longer today? And if so, how does that affect our job search?
Well, I know I am.
Okay.
I think my generation, or our generation, is different than the hero generation. And that generation was not, when they got to our age, they were generally not as healthy as we are. For instance, both my dad and mom smoked. I never picked up a single cigarette, cigar, anything to smoke. I just didn't want that stuff in my lungs. And as a result, I think I stayed younger. And I think that's true of many people in our generation. And we want to contribute as long as we can. And we've learned through science that our brain stays young as long as it's getting used.
I like that, because we are getting older, and you use the word contribute, and I think that's so important. No matter what we're doing, if we have the feel that we're doing something and contributing to society, whether it's being a very good teacher, or if you're not employed as a teacher, maybe a tutor or someone who instructs people in a private institution, training them in how to use technology or something like that. If you can use those skills, you feel good about yourself, and you're always moving forward. You're empowered, and you're using the talents that you have. You mentioned about keeping motivated during this period, and when I read that section of your book, I thought about the ball players today who years ago they basically went out and played. They learned a little bit from the pre-scouts on the other team. But today the analytics, they know just where they're going to hit it. They know what part of the batter's box to throw the ball, high, low, left, center, etc. And we get more and more details. Through working with a book like yours, have you found that helps people greatly? And I'm not just looking for you to praise yourself, but whether it's an organization or somebody who helps people find a new position or get back in the workforce?
Well, Bill, as an author of a career search book, I'm very different. And the reason I'm different is that for over 40 years, I've been and continue to be a professional recruiter. The last person I recruited for a client started in March, and she was a COO to head a restaurant chain. So, it's one of those things where I think that we all can contribute and make impacts. And I suggest to not just people I coach in their job search, but to candidates when they're interviewing, I say to them, one of the areas you need to be concerned about is whether you can make positive, measurable impacts and have fun. And if during your interview you feel that that's the case, you're probably going to be happy there.
I think that's great. And obviously, if I check those two boxes on any job, I'm going to like it's going to be up in 88 to 100% because those are the things I want in a job. So I think you're definitely there. And I want to emphasize to our audience that you mentioned you are not only by your website address, the Recruiter Guy, but that is what you do. So when you're talking about this and giving us advice, you've been there, done that, and are doing that literally every day. How can we best, when we get the bad news that, this is going to happen, whether it's a week from now or a month from now, or we just see it coming, like, I think in the 6 months there's going to be a big downsizing. How would you advise someone to assess their skills looking to the future?
My favorite way of doing it is to tell them to get 2 sheets of legal paper, and at the top of one write professional, and at the top of the other write personal, and then list everything that they do well professionally and personally on those separate lists, and list all of their skills, and then list their experience that they think highlight those skills. Then they need to wash back through those lists and put an asterisk next to those skills, that experience, all of their attitudes that they do well. And then the asterisk goes to the ones they do well that they enjoy. Why focus on things you don't enjoy?
Now,
so I've been really good when a client asks me to conduct an employee relations investigation and then help them through it, especially startups. Do I like doing it? No.
No.
If you see those 2 words together on recruiterguide.com, let me know. I don't want Google finding it.
Fair enough.
And the other thing is, fortunately for most of your listeners, they're not living in Park City, Utah, because on my list, I make the best spaghetti in Park City, Utah. Now, the reason it's there is because Linda tells me so. And it's probably because she wants me to be the one making the spaghetti. But what that does is it reinforces all the positives and gets your mind thinking in a positive fashion. And then the last thing that you do with those lists, that where you have the asterisk, you create a story that demonstrates those skills, experience, etc.
I think that's great. And I want to continue that again after we mentioned to our audience that if you're just tuning in, wondering who this guest is and how he's going to be helping you, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Bill Humbert, Humbert. He's the author of the book Expect Success, and he's helping people find jobs, especially if you're in that over 50 market. Bill, would you tell us once again the website if people want to learn more?
Yes, it's recruiterguy.com, RecruiterGuy.com.
And for our audience, again, this is one of those shows you may want to even just write down, because you may not think you need it today, and 4 months from now, you're finding out that there's a reorganization or a downsizing, or your brother or your dad could use this information. You can always go to nccradio.org. That's nccradio.org. Simply look for Secrets of Success, and then our show today, Expect Success. And you'll find out Bill's tips and go to his book and find out even more how you can make this process much better organized and much easier on everybody. And Bill, to the topic you were talking about just before the break, you mentioned about putting down the assets and the points of our career. Just taking a walk recently, I was thinking back over my life, and all of a sudden, given some time, I thought of things that I hadn't thought of in 30, 40, or 50 years. I said, wait, I forgot I did that. I was the chairman of that committee. I gave a talk to that group. If I was writing a resume, all of this I'd want to put down. But as I finished my walk, I said, you know what? You've had a pretty interesting life. You did things you enjoyed. You were able to pass it on to some others. And it was checking all those boxes, as you said. Were you able to contribute? Are you doing something you enjoy every day, et cetera, et cetera? So exactly what you said, I think, brings those things out. When we're doing that, does it help to have an outsider, either a trusted friend, I want to say a mentor, a previous boss or coworker? Because in my experience, I've found a lot of people don't see their best attributes. A good golf swing, you may be a great golfer. It comes easy to some people. If you saw me, you'd realize I'm one of those people it doesn't come easy to. My ball goes to the water, to the sand trap, or in the forest. So is it good to have outsiders get involved in that process?
Absolutely, Bill. You know, we are our worst judge of us. It's important to have somebody that you trust who knows you very well to, for instance, look over your lists. And they'll go, geez, Bill, you forgot this. And don't you remember doing that? That was so important for our company. So I agree with you. Having a mentor is very important, and it's even more important to reach out to them.
I actually did that with someone. He was about to retire, and I was honestly shocked when he did. I said, while I know you're in that retirement age group to the person, you have so many qualities. And I could see he stopped. And he was taken back, but he was listening to what I said. So our conversation ended, and because of the pandemic, we didn't see each other for a while. And next time I saw him, which was about 12 months later, he said, I took your advice. He said, instead of retiring, I did a partial retirement. So he still has 50% of his clients and his cases, and the other 50% of his time is spent with his grandchildren. So things he didn't realize about himself, but you could see it connected at that point. Bill, in your book, you emphasize networking and setting up that process and getting into the market that way. Can you give us some tips about networking? Because for most of us, if we haven't done it, and if we're in a job happily for 3 or 7 years, it's probably a whole new world out there today.
Well, it is and it's not. I've had so many people that I've worked with who've said to me, I don't know how to network. And I laugh and I say, you're being silly. And they go, what do you mean? I don't know how to network. I said, remember when you were 4 years old and a brother or sister or a friend walked by with an ice cream cone? What'd you say? Where'd you get that? That's networking. We've been networking all our lives preparing for this moment. Where's the best place to buy tires? Where's the best shopping center? We've been networking our entire lives. Now it has to be focused networking to help you become known by people outside of your network. And so, we talked a little bit before about the Here I Am speech. Well, the purpose of that speech to somebody that is to plug into their network and find out from them who are 3 or 4 other people that you should speak with from what you just told them.
Now, if I read correctly, Bill, and I marked this down, I think it was in your book, something like 74 to 70% of jobs are filled by networking. So that's 3 out of 4 jobs, if I'm doing my math correctly. And even if it's a little less or a little more, that's a huge number. So even if we don't think we're doing it, we should pay attention to what you're saying, because that's what's out there. We hear a lot about AI and resume writing, etc. Are there any tips you can give us? Because, again, someone who is in their 40s, perhaps 50s, they've been away from this for a while. They write the old kind of resume. I went to this school. I did this job. I hit my sales quota 3 years in a row. Where does the AI come in? Can you give us a report on that in 30 seconds?
Okay. So the AI is set up to screen you out of a job. And it's important. Don't worry about your resume so much. What's important is the network your way in, and that way you're going around the AI.
And the AI, just for our audience, I should have explained that. By that we mean artificial intelligence. How the computers look at our resume, which may be different than if it hit your eyes. You might say, oh, he went to my high school, or he had those same teachers, or I know he's good because he played on this same team, or she's good because of it. But unfortunately, when we're working with a computer, if you don't put, I guess, the right buzzwords in there, it's not going to get looked at.
Correct. You have to match the keywords in the job description on your resume.
And I think that's a whole new world for most of us. And hopefully we can outsmart those computers who are working with the artificial intelligence. Bill, before we wrap up, once again, I want our audience to know today our guest has been Bill Humbert, Humbert. His book is Expect Success, and even if you don't expect to be in the job market, you probably will be sooner than you think. And if not you, it'll be your brother, your mom, your sister, etc. Take the information down. He's known as recruiterguy.com. And Bill, is there anything else we should know that's going to help us?
Expect success. That's the bottom line.
If you can keep our confidence up, and I will tell our audience, I know from going through this, you feel very positive as you read your book. And while I'm not per se looking for a job right now, if just reading that, it made me feel empowered that I have strength and I know the game that I'm playing. So at least I'm getting into it and I'm going to be ahead of a lot of other candidates. Bill, we want to thank you for being with us today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill. It was so great being here.
I'd like to let our audience know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.